Welcome everybody to another episode of Call of Duty KNIFELINE, your premier source for knifing news worldwide. This is episode number 50, the long-awaited, and sitting with me I have SlayedbyBlade. And before we get into it, I just want to talk contextually about xJMx and the team that he was a part of. Basically, it's a knifing team, and they were one of the most revered knifing teams in the community. So that is why we open up with talking about that team that he was the leader of. So without further ado, let's get on to it. And while you're listening to this interview, you're going to be watching the best clips in Call of Duty KNIFELINE history, as well as some new clips being thrown in there that have been sent to me with the hashtag over the past few months. So, without further ado, let's get into this interview. Yo, what's up, cats? Clever Tricks here. I'm proud to say that I'm sitting here with SlayedbyBlade, the former leader of xJMx, the curator and creator of the best top 5 knifing feed countdown that you'll ever see, as well as Twitch streamer, YouTuber, and all-around great guy, SlayedbyBlade. Thanks for being here.
Hey, man. Happy to do it. Appreciate you having me.
Now, I want to hit the ground running here. I've always wanted to know this. What does xJMx stand for?
Okay, so, well, you know it was made before I was involved, right?
I didn't know that, but I do want to know what the history is behind it and who started it and who are the other leaders or creators of originators of xJMx.
Yeah. So it's FaZe Blaze and his friend Dragonite. So they were Blaziken and Dragonite, like 2 Pokemon-inspired names. But they didn't even use their gamer tags as the inspiration for it. They actually both used their last initials as the letters, and then they just threw X's around it. So that if anything that was like something I didn't have much to do with at all, it was definitely the naming of the team.
Do you know how many members it had altogether if you went from the beginning to the end? Would you be able to have an estimate?
Oh my gosh, no, I couldn't possibly. There's I don't know if you ever saw one of the last videos that Jam put up was a like a compilation of a lot of really big milestones and like the intros to a bunch of big team tages and stuff like that. And there was a graphic within that was a motion track of just a ton of names. I mean, easily, like, it must have been 50 plus names on the screen that were all tracked to a map on BO1, but even that wasn't all the names. So I mean, 50 plus I think would be a rough estimate that's probably not even close to being accurate, but I mean, tons of people.
Now what led you to being one of the leaders of xJMx?
So I wasn't really involved with it when Dragonite and Blaziken were doing things. Then it got passed down to Chosen, who was running it for a while, and this is actually like so long ago it feels like that I'm struggling to remember all this exactly, but Chosen was running the team for a while and he wanted to join Spacebound, so he needed to hand the team off to somebody else, and I got a Twitter DM, which I mean it must have been at least 3-4 years ago. That could even be too low, but he was basically asking me if I wanted to run the team. And at the time, I had nothing to do with the team at all, actually. So I said I was not interested in doing that just because I didn't even know the group of people. It seemed like it would be weird to just like step in and be like, all right, I'm in charge of all these people that I don't know, or I'm going to tell people what to do. So I actually asked if I could join as a member first without like telling anybody. So I just like kind of snuck in and had my own intro edited and stuff like that and had it go up on the channel without telling Chosen, which was really weird to do at the time, but like I knew he wanted me to join the team, so I didn't even ask. I actually like had it edited and put up on the channel without telling the leader of it, and then Jam edited it, and so that's how I got to know Jam really well. And when Chosen did decide to leave, he handed the team to Dive and Jam, and then I stopped being a player and got promoted to co-leader for a little bit. And after being co-leader for a while, Dive decided to leave, and so then I stepped up as leader with Jam, and that's how I ended up running the team with Jam for the majority of the time that it was in operation.
And from that point on, were you a leader from basically that point to the end of it?
Yeah, pretty much till the end of it. That's like one of my few regrets is that when we agreed to end it, like I said that I had to like leave instead of just riding it out to the end, because I was under the impression that it was going to be like operating a little longer after I left, because I got so busy with grad school that I thought I was like, going to be more of like a detriment to it. Like I wasn't really helping run things as much as I'd like to. So I would get messages from people that needed certain things, and I couldn't actually even do it because I was so busy at the time. So I told Jam, I said, if you run it and you still want to keep running it, then do so, and I'm going to actually just bounce while I've got so much on my plate with school and stuff like that. So it ended like not soon after that, but soon enough that like looking back on it, I definitely wish I just kind of stuck that out and been a part of the very end of it, just because it was a little closer than I had anticipated.
Now you say you got really busy with grad school, and that kind of tied into your channel and the top 5 feeds of the week ending at episode 250 around the same time.
Yeah, it's actually crazy like how much culminated all into like the ending of everything at the same time for me, as far as just not having time to knock it all out anymore. The top 5 was like a grind, dude. Like there were days where I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get this up in time, and I mean, with your help for like half of it feels like I got it done.
No, I only did like 0 to 50 or like episode
dude, but what I'm saying
50,
is like it just felt like so much, you know what I mean? Like I really appreciate it, but I mean the grind was real, trying to knock it all out and then upload 2 other times a week and run the team and stuff. It just kind of all piled up to where, I definitely was like, Adpocalypse hits also. Like I got a bunch of my videos got striked and stuff like that.
Oh, yikes.
And then I couldn't even manage to like keep the top 5 going, as far as editors weren't really helping me knock out the community montages that I was trying to work out, because it got to a point where I kind of had to delay some of those, and so many things compiled at the same time that I was like I got to prioritize my schoolwork and my actual job and stuff. So it just seemed right to end it on like a big milestone community montage like that, but at the same time, it was perfect timing really for me, just that I couldn't actually really make it work much longer than that anyways.
Now alongside the top 5 countdowns, you're also doing just little compilations of some of your best moments and funny moments with you and the people you still play with today, who you still kind of make edits like that casually now. But then it included a lot more knifing. What do you think led to you kind of branching away from knifing and just playing more games in general?
Oh, okay, so that's a great question, and also kind of applies to the last one too, right? Because like me and Jam were in agreement that I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure like we started talking about wrapping the team up and ending it and stuff like that, right? Because Infinite Warfare, I think, was the current COD at the time too, which like was a knifing atrocity as far as like gameplay goes.
Yeah, that was
basically just like Semtex grenades.
Yeah, that was the first time I stepped away from knifing for like 6 months, was when Infinite Warfare dropped. So I was feeling it too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like a community-wide, like, oh man, this is not going great.
It's kind of happening again with Black Ops 4 right now, to be honest.
I mean, I think it's even bigger though, because like everybody's mad at Black Ops 4. It's not even just us for once, which is nice. But yeah, so like I definitely started to kind of step away from that and enjoy different games and different play styles a little more once mine was under fire by the developers and stuff, it felt like. So I definitely started to enjoy stuff like that and put together videos that had a little more variety. And that was the first time I definitely started to think about how I felt like I had put myself in a box for a while as far as what I could make. And, when you make a channel that gets attention for doing a certain thing, you kind of feel obligated to do that thing. And it's not like I don't enjoy knife-only gameplay, because I certainly still play COD that way, but you can't play every game that way. You can't only do that as far as like, a new game drops or whatever. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to play that way. Obviously, you could knife only on COD. I did it for forever, but you don't necessarily want to like try and force that on other games if you could enjoy them a different way. At least in my opinion. So that was definitely my realization as far as the COD started kind of mistreating the play style, and then I started realizing like, oh, maybe I could enjoy playing other ways as well.
So looking back on your old videos, I don't know if you visited them recently, but the way YouTube aligns the comments now is different. So if you go back and check your old videos, it's just hundreds of your own comments in a row. Answering to each individual person. What made you have such a devotion to the people that watched your stuff, and And I mean, it's always nice to see when the YouTuber is just that engaged with their audience. Like, what was your philosophy behind being so engaged with the people that enjoys your content?
Well, one, I just had a ton of time on my hands, but also like I really appreciated the feeling like I would get whenever I would leave a comment on somebody's thing, and, you know, like a genuine comment or suggestion or criticism or whatever, and I get feedback on it, like, because then I feel like there's a dialogue between the person who's making that content and the people who are taking it in, because I think, you know, producing something in a bubble can be, you know, good or bad, but for me, I always appreciated that input. People would tell me what they liked, what they didn't like, and I felt like I was developing a better bond with my viewers and stuff like that. And I think like that's really translated to Twitch really well for me too, just because now I'm just, you know, reading the comments live and having a conversation. And I think that was something I wanted while I was making YouTube videos at the time, was just like I wanted that dialogue to be open and people could tell me what they think. And yeah, it's super weird though now. Like I do agree. You go back and look, and I think when Google bought YouTube, they changed the way the comments like were chained together or something. So now it just looks like I'm a psychopath.
It does. It looks like you're just like talking to nobody, like talking to yourself. Like it's the replies aren't linked to the comments any longer, so it's all disjointed.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, part of me kind of loves that, just because, you know, I at least know that my intention back then, and now, I mean, I still try and do that. I reply to every comment on my videos, but it was weird. Like I would definitely like make a habit of doing that, but it definitely is kind of like an art piece now, just the way Google's messed it up. Like you can just look at it and just be like, oh, this dude just like devolved into insanity. But I swear I had good intentions.
Okay, now I want to ask about the top 5 feeds of the week. You must have seen it all. You must have seen all the types of feeds that can possibly happen. I mean, especially since, you know, you associate with really good knifers that make amazing montages on an often basis. All of the submissions that you had to comb through weekly. That being said, is there any one feed that you can say that just stands out above the rest? Like, it doesn't even have to be the best, but the most memorable one that you can think of. Can you choose one? Is that possible?
I mean, that's not fair. Just because it's 250 weeks and there's 5 placements. I introduced honorable mentions at one point. True. I've easily watched over, you know, well, actually, I suck at math. I mean, that's thousands of submissions, right? Like thousands of clips. I mean, there's so many that stand out right away. Right? Like, I mean, I saw the world's first Modern Warfare 2 5-on TK on my top 5. Like, I was like, that's possible? I didn't even know that was possible.
Really? Okay. Who hit that?
That was Drez. Drez hit that.
Amazing.
He's a beast. Yeah, it was on a state too, I'm pretty sure, which is like, I mean, the last map you would expect somebody to pull that off on. In my opinion, like I backed out on a state. I don't even like to play that map. It's so big, you know? Now I'm just geeking, dude. But like the Stelias hit a quad TK on Ghosts where I think it was on Trimmer, where he gets 3 kills, and then the 4th guy that he hits is actually killed by the knife falling down the ladder from the 3rd guy that he killed. So like 2 people were climbing up the ladder. So it's just like crazy stuff, dude. Like people would hit the most insane things. And I mean, I would say, I'm just gonna say those are the 2 that come to mind. There's hundreds that I could talk about. I mean,
that's awesome though. That definitely that feeds my curiosity as what have you seen in the trenches of the feeding community. So thanks for answering that question. I know that you could probably name off dozens more. Yeah. So sure. when you did go to grad school, I mean, YouTube was your main platform, and now would you say it's more Twitch? And going into the future, do you see it being Twitch more than YouTube?
I think so, because the man, I feel like I'm talking about time a lot. Maybe that's a metaphor, but the whole thing, you know, is Twitch is the part of the production of YouTube videos before it before the editing process. In my opinion, anyways. You know, for me, it was always playing with my friends, editing all the funny moments together, putting it up on YouTube. Now I play with my friends live in front of an audience, and then I cut it together, and then I upload it to YouTube. It's pretty much the same thing, but people get to see more of it, which, you know, both good and bad. Obviously, we're not always killing it funny moments wise or gameplay wise or anything like that, but we can always at least interact with the chat and stuff like that. So I started streaming for a bit before I started uploading again, whenever I only had time to stream. So, you know, the only time that I really play is when I'm streaming now, because I'm busy with school and work. But whenever I do get a chance to put a video together that just compiles all those moments, I like to, and put those up on YouTube as well. So I think Twitch is the place for me to focus for the time being, at least, just because I find myself with enough time really just to do that first part of this process that I've put together over the years. But I mean, I have so many ideas for things that I think would be more YouTube oriented as well. Like, I used to love to do like COD related skits. I've thought of like, man, just like this week I had like a couple ideas for Apex Legends skits that I was like, I don't know if anybody would give a shit about this at all, but I also, sorry if I curse, but like I was like really interested in the idea of putting something like that together, even though I don't even think they have a theater mode, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, totally. I'm interested in both, but Twitch is where I just like, I have enough free time to really kind of explore that avenue right now.
Now, you mentioned possibly, now obviously it's not 100%, but if you could, you may join a team. You don't have to mention any team, but do you have one in mind if you were to go for one?
So for me, it's definitely kind of weird. Just having ran a team for such a long time, I feel like I look at a lot of things differently than a lot of other people, as far as trying to keep in mind like what my position is going to be, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that a little better than some people, at least. And the one that stuck out to me was 100 Thieves, just because they've really kind of started to gain traction relatively recently. I don't know why that seems so interesting to me, as opposed to like a more established team, I guess. But not to say that that's not like a massive goal anyways. That's already a huge organization, but that was the one that stuck out to me for sure. I just I can't really say for sure that there's too many others that I've considered. So that was the one that really kind of stuck out to me. But I think also it's worth mentioning that like I've been really enjoying Apex Legends, and they said they were looking for people who were good at that. So I think that's probably a big driving force.
I just want to say, do you have, or I just want to ask, do you have any advice for someone who's trying to make or trying to sustain a team right now in the knifing space, and even if it's possible to have growth here in this strange little niche of YouTube where a few of us are still hanging on by our fingernails trying to make something of ourselves?
Sure. Well, one, I'd say hit me up on Twitter, because I reply to everything on there too, and I'd love to just, answer any questions that anybody might have straight up, because I love that sort of thing. So don't feel like you can't just reach out to me or whatever. But also, the biggest thing for me and Jam, I think, was just that we didn't want to treat it like there's like a wall between, when you segment everybody off, like, okay, this person's a leader, this person's a co-leader, these people are players, and then you break up the players into different kinds of categories and stuff like that. It's easy to really kind of start to think that that's like the people that you're supposed to associate with, but we really like to just when we were running it, we wanted to communicate with everybody, get everybody's ideas, see what people wanted to do and stuff like that. So I think it's called a team for a reason. It's a group effort. People need to discuss with one another what they're going to do. Obviously, some people might have the final say over other people, but it's important to keep other people's ideas, interests, recommendations in mind. And I think that's like a really big part of trying to grow a team in general on YouTube, but especially in a community that's as tight knit as this one. It's really important to do that, because you're definitely gonna when you're talking to people in your team, you're talking to your audience at the same time. You know what I mean? Like this is a community that's sizable enough to be like, all right, we are discussing this with people who are going to be watching it, basically. So that's important.
Awesome, thank you. And on that note, if you want to reach out to SlayedbyBlade, you can find him on Twitter at SlayedbyBlade. And Slade, where else on social media can these people find you, your YouTube and Twitch?
Well, those are both SlayedbyBlade too, so pretty easy to find. Somebody took the Instagram, so if you know that person, give it to me, please. But other than that, that's all there is to it.
Thank you for joining me today, Slade.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap, everybody, on KNIFELINE. This is going to be the last episode, and I'd just like to extend a thank you to all of the knifers in this community that held this series in high esteem, that used the hashtag KNIFELINE, that contributed to the knifing community and to this series as a whole, so that I could bring you each and every week for the past year the best representation of the knifing community that I could have ever possibly done. So a big thank you to this community. I couldn't have done it without you guys. It's time for me to move on. I will do a commentary elaborating on why in the future. But again, just another big thank you to all the people who participated in this series. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Now, if you want to watch all the episodes of KNIFELINE, the link to the full playlist is down below, as well as the social media for Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch of SlayedbyBlade. Thanks to him again for this interview. Keep those blades sharp, people. Peace out.
Oh my god! No! Oh my god, Cookie, that was insane! Double beat.